Thanks, sir.
Absolutely.
That was awesome.
GCandC RPG. GCandC RPG.
TTT. Fuck TTT.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for, I think, one of our favorite elements of the show, GC and TTRPGs.
GCT RPG.
Yeah! Love it! I totally love it. I could talk, I mean, it's my favorite. It's my favorite, at least. Every time. I love it.
Man.
What?
I love it. I don't know if it's my favorite every time. But...
I do like our weeks a lot, but this is, yeah, I guess it depends, but I do love it a lot. And especially right now because we haven't gotten our D&D fix. I'm jonesing really bad. Yeah. So I'm like, so this week we're going to be covering feats. That was circled on my calendar for a while. I wanted to talk about that because I don't think enough people realize how feats can help your PC, and how just how much of a badass it can turn your PC into. So basically what it is this. When your class gives you the option to increase your ability scores, which is 4, 8, 12, you can, instead of upping those ability scores, choose a feat. Now, on paper, that sounds like a no-brainer. You're going to go with the ability scores. I mean, just because of the overall upgrade that you'd get, that ability score increases would provide. But, I mean, feats are unbelievably awesome. And when you read through them and see what it is that you'd be getting when you take that, you can see why. So a feat is listed as a quote-unquote from the book, a talent or area of expertise that gives a character special capabilities. You can only take each feat only once, but that feat is limitless once you take it. You can use it as much as you want.
Yeah, my buddy plays a warlock, and he picked the feat over. I forget what it was. But I think it was dual wielding, maybe. Or
that's one of them.
Yeah, and I'm going to give some examples just so you can see how crazy it is. Certain feats actually have prerequisites that must be met, like one I'll list later. Dex can be no lower than a 13, but it's nothing too crazy. And actually, feats, some people consider sort of controversial because of how OP they can make you. Mm-hmm. There's some people that don't use them at all because there's general discussion that it's too empowering. I mean, the idea that you can push your scores up by 2 to increase a whole swath of abilities underneath that seems like that would be the way to go, but once you read through some of these, it's definitely more balanced, and you can see some of these making your character super, super badass. An example that I looked at, there's one called a defensive duelist, okay? So this is it. When wielding a finesse weapon, and if you're hit with a melee attack, you can use a reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your AC for that attack.
Wow. Nice. That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's
if you're, +3 or +4 by that point, yeah, I mean, you roll, they roll.
Look at that every turn?
Yeah, every turn. That's what I'm saying. That's what's crazy. There's a feat called Alert. This is every time, right? You pick Alert, you get +5 to initiative. Yeah. You can't be surprised while conscious. And other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls against you as a result of being hidden.
Yeah. This one's an awesome feat because I use this with Rogar, who is a Dragonborn Paladin, whose stat for dexterity is 8, which gives you a -1. So he's been rocking a -1 to initiative. And by using that exact feat, I got a +5. So now I went from -1 initiative to +4 initiative.
It's crazy.
That's,
And if you, let's say you are
Was it
super
Rogar?
fast already. Yeah, Rogar.
yeah.
Damn.
Let's say you're fast already, you got a +3, or a +4 even with an 18 dex. You add 5 to that every round.
Oh my god.
You got a +9 initiative.
Mm-hmm.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
our
I watched
feats
a few
are-
videos.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
As far as like role playing, are feats something that you would like put into your backstory or something, or like does it have anything to do with that, or?
Well, no, you pick it when you get to 4, 8, and 12. So you wouldn't have it when you start out, unless you already, if you're starting at a
Do you have
level.
to talk about how you learn to do those things, or you just all of a sudden know how to
They
do
don't-
it at that level?
They don't mention anything about having to learn anything at all.
You level up, dude.
Yeah. Just think, I guess it's included in something that you would, it's the same as you're increasing an ability score, but you're not necessarily working on dex, the whole time. If you take a +2 for your dex, you're not saying, well, I'm practicing by swinging my sword, up and down or whatever.
Well,
You just have it added.
And even if you had a dex, say a dex of 8 gives you a -1. Even if you increase that by 2, you're going to have a 0. You're not going to have any mod to dex because 9 to
Right.
10 is 0. So, you wouldn't even get close to like a +4 initiative even by level 12 if you took the ability mods every milestone.
Yeah. I think the feats become dangerous when you have the scores that you need for the abilities that count, so you don't need to beef them up, and you can take those feats. If you get to like level 8 and you have 2 feats, there's certain things. There's one called the Savage Attacker. Once per turn for melee attack, you can re-roll your damage and take the higher one. That's every single turn.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Really?
Fanon
Yeah.
would be like
Yeah.
beast mode.
And that's not even counting the magic stuff. There's magic
Holy
ones.
shit.
There's one called a Mage Hunter.
Yeah.
That you get all these. If you're fighting a mage, you get all these pluses. It's crazy. So I would, if you're sort
The
of
good
get to
feats
that,
is the point.
yeah, exactly. Don't just sleep on it because, I think people just automatically say, well, I want to beef my scores up, but they're not looking at this
The long
option
game,
that you
yeah.
have. Yeah, and you definitely, you can help your character out if you are already set and you don't want to be totally greedy on your ability scores. You can definitely look at feats and beef them up that way.
Is it considered an optional rule to use them, or is it part of core rules? Like
It's considered optional in the player's handbook.
it says it. Okay.
I
Yeah.
thought it was
Curious.
considered optional to use them, but
Yes.
it's a rule of the handbook. People can
Right.
Yeah.
use them.
It's optional play in the handbook.
Yeah, there's optional rules all throughout all the books. I was just curious if
Yeah.
what that.
And it starts on page
Came down.
165 in the player's handbook if anyone's curious.
Yeah, exactly. And you can
You're
see
right.
why it's an optional. But some of those are, I can't imagine having.
And I think
You
they
know.
added more feats in Xanathars.
Probably added them in.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. I didn't check
So-
there.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Alright.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thanks, Eric.
Absolutely.
That was awesome.
Thank you,
GCandC RPG. GCandC RPG.
TTG. Fuck. TTG.